Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of E-Copy with Experts. Today we have Shamil, who is the founder of Denovo Group with us. Hey, Shamil.
Hey, how are you?
All good here,
Nice to be
Shamil.
here.
Lovely. Well, before we move any forward and talk about SEO strategies and all, why don't you talk us through your journey? How did you found Denovo Group? Just getting to know the human behind the mic.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thank you. I got into the industry through a friend of mine who, by association, invited me to work for him. And in about a year and a half, he made a radical move and essentially gave me partnership in the agency back then. And hit the ground running. We worked together for about 8 years. We had about 25 employees at that point, and we were expanding to the US, not only Canada. And we had all kinds of vertices from home improvement to legal to medical. And due to kind of life circumstances, we went our separate ways at a certain point. And I essentially took my key team at that point, took the clients that I was managing. We split the company, and he's no longer in the space, but I pivoted and founded Denovo. COVID brought a lot of change for everybody. We split ways in December, and in March, COVID hit. So it was a first year. It was definitely challenging, especially the first couple of months. Then it rebounded. But I decided to pivot only towards legal marketing. So we currently have a large portfolio of clients who are not law firms or individual attorneys, but we pitch and kind of market ourselves to legal only. We had, even at the time, quite a few clients and in the space, and I decided to pursue it further. Both my siblings are lawyers, so I figured if I could get along with them, I could get along with some lawyer clients. Yeah, that's us, and we've been strong. I have about 18 people that work with me right now on quite a few time zones, from the west to the east, and some people in Europe. So it's a large team, very vibrant team, and things are looking good.
Lovely, Shamil. Quite a journey, I must say. So, Shamil, law firm marketing has its own challenges. So, why did you go ahead and pick just legal marketing? What kind of got you interested in this domain?
It just happened that we had a bunch of lawyers as clients that came over time, and I found that building a relationship with them, I'm pretty good with. I have clients from all type of vertices, but legal specifically. My partner at the time was taking on clients in the medical field, and they're nice people to work with as well, doctors. But it's weird. I take it a challenge upon myself to get along with people that by default are difficult to get along with. And there's a stigma out there that lawyers are very strict and very knowledgeable and maybe socially are not the easiest to get along with. And to me, I always found that like a challenge when you have somebody who's a tough cookie to say, and you earn their
Mhm.
trust, you form a relationship with them, and then you can work with them for years. So it just happened that I've discovered the legal niche. So personally, I was enjoying the challenges with it. Right? That when you're working with a home improvement company, everybody could do that. And also from the competition point of view, like if you think about it, there's a lot of developers or a lot of technical people who are behind a lot of digital marketing agencies, right? They're either developers themselves and stuff, and they're very tech savvy. So they have a challenge often to get along with more difficult clients, right? Because it's just right. There's a left part of the brain and the right part of the brain, right? There's the tech people, and then there's the kind of the theoretical thinkers, so to speak. So to me, I found that it's a good niche because also less competition, especially in Canada, right? There's a million agencies out there that do work for
Hmm.
all kinds of people, but lawyers want to work with somebody they feel comfortable with, somebody who knows their industry, right? Somebody who they can get along with. I don't know. I thought it was a good niche to get into. I still think that it's a pretty decent niche to work with because a lot of digital marketing agencies shy away from it, right? Or
Yeah.
necessarily, you
I know
know,
quite a few of them, yes.
Exactly, because they're tech oriented and lawyers need a special approach. So I thought it wouldn't be a bad strategy move. Obviously, I wanted to focus on one niche after parting with my partner because being an agency that works with everybody, it's nice. Money is money, but if you ever thinking of having a competitive advantage, right, having easier to penetrate a particular market, right? Let me tell you that, right? When you say that, look, we work mostly with lawyers, and that's our legal forte, that's our forte and focus. People respond to it, clients respond to it nicer than if I'm jack of all trades and I have plumbers on my client list.
Lovely. And then talking about law firms, Shamil, quite a few tricks, right? So beyond traditional SEO ranking factors, what are some of the key or unique challenges do law firms face in achieving visibility and authority online? And what are your strategies for your clients to address these issues?
You're talking about relating to digital marketing?
Yes, absolutely.
I found this to be true is sometimes you encounter a website that in the very beginning needs to be revamped or redone because while it's built on a template and it looks good and it functions and the client seems to like it, you can improve positions, but you realize that 6 months to 12 months, you'll come to a point where the platform has to be revamped. And I learned this over time that it's good maybe in the very beginning to at the very least mention that to the client because what I find is that sometimes you do really great digital work or somebody else did amazing digital work, right? Like they do content and very good quality links and they push the site and but just the website at certain point plateaus or peaks, so to speak, and stops ranking further. And when you look at some of the competition out there, you realize what you're lacking is you just might be built on a old platform. With age, in the beginning, sometimes you don't want to address it because the client's happy, it's workable. But I found that it's easier to address at the very beginning, mention that look, we could do this, but this challenge will arise, and you will need to revamp your site to take it a step further. I think that's also a lot of people don't do that. They don't want to disturb the client, and especially the beginning of the relationship, place this idea that now you need to redesign the site. And besides SEO, I think reputation management, especially in the legal field, and I'll explain. If you are a plumber or a service provider of some sort, like nails, hair salon, whatever, or even e-commerce, it's a lot easier to gather reviews and to outreach clients to use all these fancy platforms to generate feedback from clients and get whether it's Google reviews or any other reviews. I'm just being the devil's advocate. Put yourself in the shoes of a criminal attorney. Not a lot of people want to leave a review saying that John Smith really helped me out. I had 10 years that was facing, and now I only have 2, right? You get where I'm
Yeah.
going with this, right? So same thing with some of the bigger business transactions, right? Or litigation matters, right? If you're a mergers acquisitions firm and you're doing some high-end corporate work, these files sometimes last for years and there's not a lot of turnaround to ask people for reviews. So I feel that the strategy to generate reviews is even more essential for lawyers, especially in certain niches. If you're an immigration attorney or if you do a lot of real estate or family work, but again, family, same thing, right? People fight, they're bitter, they lose money, they're going emotionally through emotional trauma, they're getting divorced. Do they really want to give you a review, right? There's certain scenarios in life where nobody wins, and I think divorce is one of them, right? Where people both, regardless of the monetary component, they're not in the right state of mind, and to ask them to leave a review after that you did a great job when you charged them thousands of dollars. So I find that for lawyers, that could be a huge challenge to ask for them in the right way, to have the processes in place where that lead generation happens, review generation happens at the right time, and it's actually effective. That's a huge challenge that a lot of firms face.
And then with law firms, referral business is a huge factor in getting your fresh acquisition, or for example, for even recurring business. So how do you ensure that the referrals are coming in and the inquiries are in place?
You're talking about after the clients leave the
Yeah.
agency, leave the lawyer. Again, the firm has to have processes in place with proper CRMs. Now, I want to make something clear that we do some practice management for some of our clients. So we
Mhm.
do get involved and help them organize their processes and their phone systems and answering systems, right? Using the CRM to have follow-up emails for the new leads coming in, to have, as you say, relationship management processes in place where after the client is secured and then he becomes a client, that we have email automation asking people for referrals, right? A social media component. I find that the law firm or the client has to want it and have the time to and the department and the people to put it to life. I find a true example, client of mine of 8 years, I have a very difficult time getting them to do anything and agree on any initiative because although it's a pretty significant size law firm, they have about 25, 30 lawyers for Canada. It's in Atlantic Canada. It's a pretty large law firm, but there was no designated person, even amongst the partners, who would uphold the initiatives. When all it really took is them hiring a pretty junior marketing person, but that
Mhm.
person relied on us, but at the same time was instrumental because he was in the office to get decisions and get answers, right? And just building out those chains of commands within the law firm. If you talk to any client, do they want to retain more clients? Do they want to get referrals? I don't think you're going to hear no from anyone, right? Are they willing to commit in resources to do that, right? Are they going to invest in the CRM and the education, making sure their people are using it? That's the challenge. So we definitely help our clients do that and build out these processes. But it's true that it's an 80-20 rule. I would say only 20% of the clients are actually thinking that way, or others are get the leads in, get the clients signed up, right? They're not too busy about optimizing their business processes inside. So
Absolutely. After talking about processes, a lot of law firms they rely on phone inquiries. So, how can call tracking technology help them measure the effectiveness of the marketing campaigns and identify which channels generate the most qualified leads?
we utilize CallRail and What Converts. These are two softwares we use to um, again, we offer this service, but the client has to have the initiative to do this, right? And during our
Right.
intake processes, we tell them what the challenges are and you know what could be done. True story. I'm having brunch with two partners, and they're like, "We're getting the leads. This is literally the feedback, but we're having issues closing. Like I feel like nothing is converting." And I'm like, just
Mhm.
curiosity's sake, what's the protocol in the firm, right, for phone backs? Like how many times your receptionist, whatever, calls these leads back? The guy's cutting a piece of steak and he says, you know what? That's actually a great question. I have no idea. And I find that in the law field specifically, 90% of law firms do not have these processes in place. So we offer call tracking, we offer call recording. And when we run, for example, Google Ads with the SEO, we have clients where every single lead through API drops in a document where
Mhm.
we could differentiate the if the client doesn't have a CRM, obviously if they have a modern CRM, we could drop it right in CRM. We can identify where the leads are coming from organically, whether they're coming from paid, right? Obviously the return on investment, right? Call per lead, call per appointment, call per intake, and then obviously return on the client secured. And we can calculate the cost of marketing. And we do this for our clients. Call tracking software really helps us. Um, I would say that we still have some clients that are non-legal and they are more inclined to utilize these metrics
Mhm.
than some of the law clients we have. And the way I explain it is, I didn't say this, my clients do, but they say not every lawyer is a businessman. And a lot of people that are running law firms, from my experience, are phenomenal attorneys. They're very
Mhm.
knowledgeable what they do, and they need that professional marketing help, right? And that's where we can come in, but they need to be able to commit to it. As I mentioned, to have the processes, to realize what these numbers mean and to focus on them and to really build a machine. And there's quite a few very successful law firms that I work with, right? And they just, I love working with these clients. While there's a lot more maybe challenging at first to hook up all the measuring, right? But you could clearly demonstrate your return on investment clients knowledgeable, right? It's very difficult to, you're in the space yourself, right? We make sure the website converts, it's fast, we put the right call to actions, we suggest to the client the right call to actions, we rank the site, we have a very efficient, or we improve at least on the way the cost per click is, and the leads are coming in, and then they don't have a protocol inside the company, right? Nor, for example, worst case scenario, do they want to invest in the call tracking software, right? And to be able to see how many people called and what their receptionist was doing and what the process in the company is. I think of digital marketing as a long chain with a lot of chain links. And us as agencies, and again, we do some practice management. With the practice management, we're maybe responsible for 2/3, right? There's still that component that's on the other end. So you got to get the clients in, look the right part. I find like that's a third of the business. The other third is to have the tools and the CRMs to measure progress and have protocol, right? And then there's closing the client that unfortunately you or I can't really impact directly, right? Because we could talk all the talk, we could help all the clients, but at the end of the day, there has to be a talented person on the other end who would be able to make these intakes. And I feel like that's the biggest challenge is everybody does the first step, which is digital marketing, but to fine tune the rest, that's
The
where the
processes, yeah.
challenge comes.
Yeah, and that is why at times it is also about going beyond your contractual obligations. Also ensure that the business at the back end is, efficient enough to hold on to those leads and make it worth. While we can boast about a lot of traffic that we get onto their website, if it is not converting into revenue, then it makes no sense for the business, right?
And with age, the more secure your kind of clientele base is, and the longer I'm in the industry, just as I mentioned, I do this at the forefront. Where at the beginning, if the client has marketing budget, and first instinct is you look at their site and you see the opportunities to help them out, you're excited. Now I make it very clear, and I say that look, we could have website challenges because your website's old, and maybe not now, but in 6 to 8 months, you would need to invest this sum of money to redo this, right? I prefer we start a relationship with me showing you what we can do by increasing the lead flow. However, that's a challenge you're going to face, right? And then carries an additional cost. And same thing with practice management and processes in place, right? I ask these questions of the intake. Have you thought about recording your phone calls? Who picks up your phone? What CRM
Yeah.
you use, right? So we educate the client in the very beginning and try to make sure that we are the perfect fit. So because I've had this challenge all my life and all my career, yet like we do go beyond our obligations to try to fine tune the processes that the client has
True.
inside, but just the internal mechanisms are just missing, right? Sometimes the corporate structure at a larger law firm is just not, there's not right people in place, or there's no right initiative. And I would rather have a marketing committee, and yes, it takes forever to make decisions, but at least there are some steps in the right direction, where opposed some law firms just simply don't have it. It's very
Absolutely.
wishy-washy.
Yeah, that's correct. And in competition and the legal marketing space is as fierce, right? So how do you help your client differentiate themselves online and attract ideal clients for themselves in such a saturated market?
I would like to think that we as an agency have some competitive advantages over our competition in the legal field, and we work really hard to maintain these. Number two, we particularly offer that practice management component, where I would say, even amongst legal marketing agencies, I would say at least 60-70% of them don't, right? They're just like your digital marketing agency that does lawyers. They don't really consult and help improve the business processes. And I guess last but not least, I've always been, I like to think outside the box, and I like to have niches, right? I do this with I explain to our clients, I say that, look, you're in a very competitive niche. It'll roughly take you 8 years, 8 to 12 months to rank, right? Let's say we're talking about personal injury lawyer in a large metro area, right? But I'd like to work for short-term and long-term goals, right? We might identify a particular type of service they offer, or maybe a geographical niche where I'd say, look, we could foresee you getting ROI here in 4 months, but the volume might not be there. Your phone will start ringing. and while we're working on these long-term goals, right? So always try to think outside the box and leverage the niches and I guess the focus that they have, right? And I feel that's very challenging, especially with personal injury, because larger firms have very deep pockets. They usually work with very capable agencies,
Yeah.
and it's climbing the hill, right? Like somebody who's been at this for 10 years and a smaller law firm is trying to hire you or get your help to climb that hill. That's where it's really tricky, where you know what their budget is and you know what the challenges are, and you have to pivot in a different direction and really they have this straight way of thinking, like we want to rank and we want to get some personal injury files, and you're thinking like, look, maybe we focus on the disability cases now because it's a lot more feasible, right? And we have that office, because usually they have several offices, focus on something else. So it's always finding those opportunities where we could make positive ROI for the client. I feel like that's a challenge. And again, leveraging, if it's, some firms do an amazing work outside of digital space, right? They have some TV ads going, or they have local recognition. Combining them two and finding a way to make the two work together, that's
Right.
always a challenge.
Right. And Shamil, finally, you have been through this journey of yours. And you and me know that an agency life, getting your agency, running it, scaling it is such a difficult task. So, what advice would you want to give to our young listeners today who are trying to make a mark in this space or trying to start their own agencies? So, what are, let's say, the top three advices you would want to give them to keep an eye out for if they're trying to make a mark in the space?
I think everybody's in the rat race. You try to serve your client, you try to get new clients, and we all have this stigma of how we get clients, whether you're doing your own SEO, you're doing email outreaches, right? A lot of guys that are younger are starting out with lower budgets. I find it's very important. And a client actually of mine said this to me. He said, I don't work on Fridays. I said, what do you mean? This guy's multi-millionaire. And he said, I take a Friday to reflect how my week went and to draw the right conclusions of what I can do better. I still work Fridays, but at least on the weekend, to try to educate yourself and look at and force your brain to think outside it and ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? And you could start by listening to podcasts, right? I don't consider myself legal marketing space is full of great agency founders. We're based originally from Canada and we work in the States, and me and my team, we try to visit a number of conferences to get outside perspective and see what others are doing. But I find that it's very important. A lot of people neglect that. They're in the rat race. They're doing the same thing all over again. They're slowly growing, where sometimes you just need to stop, exhale, and try something else. And I'm of the opinion that you got to try, fail, and try something else and fail and give it your best effort. Persistence beats resistance. That's my forte. So if you're always trying very hard and you're self-critical and you're trying to find, even if you have 3 approaches you tried and they're not working out, maybe you're not trying hard enough, right? Or you're not utilizing the right people. So as long as you're always in that search and you're making conclusions from your failures, I think that's the path to success. You're definitely going to grow and do the right thing at the end.
Perfect, Shamil. Thank you so much for that advice. And quickly, I'd love to play a rapid fire with you. I hope you're game for it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Your last Google search.
Bank of Montreal.
Your celebrity crush.
Oh boy. Elon Musk.
Okay. Good ability to do that. All right. And what did you do with the first paycheck, Shamil? First paycheck of your life?
I was young and arrogant, and I probably went out with some friends and had some oysters and vodka.
Lovely. Great, Shamil. Thank you so much for taking out time and doing this with us. I'm sure our audiences would have benefited a lot out of what they heard from you in terms of the insights.
Thank you for having me.
Shared.
Thank
So
you for
thank
having
you
me.
so much. Yeah. Cheers, man.